Hey.
Welcome. I don't know if we decided who was going to do the intro. You played all the music and stuff, and then I got caught off guard.
You always do it.
I have the more beautiful voice. Well, other Bryan Fischer does actually, but
I just push the buttons. I see a Jordan popping in, so that's even fucking awesome.
Perfect.
Right on.
Happy birthday, sir.
Cheers.
Happy birthday, Jordan.
Thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, welcome to episode 99 of
99.
One more until we hit 100.
Holy
and we have
shit.
a special episode lined up for it. Finally, we figured something out.
Well, we have an idea.
Okay. We got to flesh it out a little bit.
Nothing is lined up yet. No dates, no schedules. We actually need to talk to Jordan.
Fair.
Which one of you was it that was jumping the Kalamazoo River, or should I not say anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that mystery voice that you heard if you're listening to the podcast belongs to a Mr. Bryan Fischer, who is the host, creator, and beautiful voice of the YouTube channel Let's Get Judgey.
Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller. Really great to be on the show. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, so rumbly, so yeah, magical.
Oh, thanks a lot. It's gonna be a blast.
Just do the rest of the show like that, please. No, as our show usually migrates to things like beer competition focused, I guess we figured, we'd talk to Bryan here about his new YouTube channel. He happens to be in our club, Keepers of Craft, and he's very interested in the BJCP, as are we. And he's out here promoting it way harder than we are. So, Bryan, I think we're going to talk to you a little bit about your channel today, maybe about the Beer City BJCP group.
Okay.
Since we are sort of, Michigan focused a little bit, and we'll see where the episode takes us, I guess.
Sounds good.
Sweet, dude. As is tradition, I guess we'll go around and see what everybody's drinking. And I'll start just so it doesn't have to awkwardly come back to me. But I made a dark mild recently because I've never brewed one before. So I'm drinking that, and I was inspired by a beer that I tasted that I later found out was brewed by Mike Neville at the State Fair homebrew competition. It's nowhere near as good as what I remember his being, but it's a fun little beer. I enjoy it. It's good for being 3.5%. I could probably drink this the whole episode. And
I was just gonna say, it looks pretty dark. Does it taste mild?
It's very mild. If anything, it's potentially maybe just like a touch too bitter. And it's losing. It lacks maybe a little bit of like that like caramel crystal malt complexity. I added a little rye to it, which he didn't have in his recipe. So the story goes, I was judging this beer with Corey Emo, I think. Is that how you say his last name?
Come on, yeah, I think so.
And I was like so impressed with this beer because the last, I think, 3 competitions I've judged, I've got stuck judging English beer. And stuck is not the right word, but like I judged English beer. It's sometimes like a lot of like the dark milds and the browns and stuff like that, they run together. And we cracked this bottle open, poured it, and I tasted it, and like Corey and I sort of like looked at each other and like went back down to our notes. And I wrote at the bottom of the score sheet, I'm like, I would love to talk to you about this recipe because like I've never brewed one before, and this is like so delicious. And it turns out it belonged to Neville. He like emailed me sometime after the score sheets came out, and he's like, "Hey, so I hear you like dark milds." So yeah, not nearly as good as his. He didn't use rye. I did, just to see if it would add any body or do something fun. I don't know if it really helped the body at all, and if anything, it maybe took away from some of the, crystal, caramely, malty complexity. But it's a fun beer. Sorry, that's my spiel. Jason, what you got?
I am going to work my way through some various other people's beers because I don't have any. I brewed right before Homebrew Con or Fest, and we drank it all at Homebrew Fest. So I'm back to not having any homebrew in the house.
That's a sad and wonderful problem to have.
Right. So right now I'm starting with my last, I think, drafting table Simon Saws, and then I'm going to be lighting it up with some Guinness. I found a case of Guinness in my basement. So.
Sweet.
Just happened to just laying around.
Just happened.
This case of Guinness here.
Yeah. I don't care. It's Guinness. It's still good and delicious. What does it say? I mean, it's from this year, so it's fine.
I was gonna say best by like 1999 or something.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Yeah. That's not as exciting as the dark mild, which I got to try yesterday, and it was delicious. So
it was very good.
Yeah. How about you, Jordan?
I brewed an Oktoberfest a little while ago, so that's I've got in my glass. It's a touch dark.
Looks great.
Looks delicious.
It actually, like, I'm looking at it on the video here, and like it looks lighter to me than it does there. So
okay,
matches your cabinetry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's nowhere near as dark as any of that. It's more like I don't know, like a deep golden or something. I think like that.
That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
That's all right. It's not bad. There's something in there, and I've been drinking this pretty much nightly, just trying to understand what the fuck I did, because there's something in there that I'm not quite happy with. Like, I can taste the good beer in there, but there's just something I can't quite put my finger on. And I have a feeling that there's like an off flavor that I'm just like, it is like super muted on my palate that I can like, I notice it's there, but I just can't quite taste it.
Sure. Okay.
So I don't know. I was going to bring some to the keepers meeting last night, but I was out all day and the kids were wild, so I didn't get a chance to come out. But
no worries.
I'll make it to one of these next, 3 meetings.
There's gonna be more than 3, so it doesn't even matter if it's this year.
The important thing, Jordan, is we did just announce Keeper's Cup yesterday, and so if you do have beer that you recently brewed, you need to bottle a couple of those up.
I definitely will. I've actually got a pale ale that I'm looking to keg up too, that I brewed not that long ago. And that's a beer I've brewed a number of times, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I used some different hops this time just because I'm just using shit that I have on hand, but I think it usually turns out good. So
right on.
I'll try to get that into a keg and carved up for the competition.
Fantastic. And how about you, Brian?
I am drinking my English not beer. It's not a brown. It's not a porter. It's somewhere in between. And I entered it in 2 different competitions under one or the other, and both of them came back with, about low 30s with good, but not quite to style. So when I entered it as the porter, it was a little too light, not roasty enough, not enough character, and then entered it as a brown, and they said kind of too portery to be a brown. So too portery to be a brown, but too brown to be a porter. So it's my English not beer.
I like that. I love that term.
I was going to say, so what category are you going to enter it in next?
I don't know. I'll probably just throw it under experimental and tell them I threw raspberries in it or something.
throw it under mild.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Just keep hitting every English category until somebody says that's it.
Goes, that's the one.
Dogsy, man. 4 men for sure. I don't know if we'd call any of us wise. So that's.
I call
just you, Jason. Just you.
So, what do we have housekeeping wise, or do we do that at the end? I forget.
I think we do it at the end usually.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe we talk about what the episode's gonna kind of entail this week, and we wrap it up at the end. And
I'm a little discombobulated because before we get into the episode, Brian Stevens messaged me, what was it, last week, to point out that we've only done 9 shows this year.
I think this is number 10. Yeah. So one a
Wow.
month isn't quite the twice a month target that we
wasn't the goal
were
at all.
going for, but
So we're hitting 50%. So it's really got my head going to try to beef those up, and I want to pump in as many episodes as we can in between now and the end of the year, but we have to wait because the next one's 100. So yeah, which we got to do. We got to do something special. We got to commemorate episode 100. So
Yes, absolutely.
Just jam them all into December.
it might come. It might
Yeah.
come.
Yeah, it could.
we're gonna have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows or something. I mean, I enjoy doing this. I would
3 week.
I would do it if we had anything to talk about besides just getting on stream and getting shit faced or something.
To be honest, I feel like some of that's like been our best shows is just get on and just fucking shoot the shit for a couple hours.
I know. I like doing that too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what this.
I thought we did. We were doing like one a week, or we were doing 3 a month.
Yeah.
And some of those were kind of a train wreck, but they were fun. And yeah.
And as a longtime listener, I can tell you that some of those are the most fun, because it was just like we're talking about everything
You
today.
don't know about.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about Scotch ales for 2 hours.
And a lot of those shows, I know a lot of the year one shows incorporated a lot more seltzer than we've seen in the last year. So
that is true. I mean, Thanksgiving is coming up.
I was gonna say we'll fix that in November.
I can't wait. So our guest of honor tonight, Bryan Fischer from Let's Get Judgey. Here, I was going to do something, but anyway. So tell us a little bit about your channel, what you're trying to do, what your goal is. Tell us your deepest, darkest secrets, Bryan.
I think we'll get booted from YouTube if we go that far, but no. It's kind of funny because my channel kind of started with yours. I was a homebrewer for a minute back in the mid 20-teens, and had to put it down for various life reasons. Came back to it in 2021, and got into all grain and really started to, I had the time and the wherewithal to really start learning how to brew. And as I was going along, I've been, watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts, just trying to get as much information as possible. And I think it was on the Brewlosophy podcast, they had started talking about BJCP judges and how they're needed, and you should get involved, and it's a great way to up your game. And I said, yeah, let me try that. Anything I can do to learn will be a good thing. So I jumped onto YouTube because there's a million how to homebrew channels on YouTube, from great, well produced, great information stuff like Brewlosophy, the Apartment Brewer, Homebrew for Life, those sorts of things. You guys doing your thing. Those guys from what's the one from Texas? It's like 4 guys in Texas that it's a long form hour plus sort of thing too. I can't remember. I've listened to some of their stuff.
Is that the show with the mandatory beer chugs? I can't remember what's that. But
yeah, listen to one of their shows in one of the recent drives.
Yeah, but when I went to go learn how to be a BJCP judge, it was 2 guys from a homebrew club sitting on folding chairs in someone's garage with an iPhone and no mic, and the sound quality was bad, and they're all looking down like this and looking around and and I was like, I gotta find something. There's got to be somebody. So then I found another channel that had it all broken down in like these, all these installments, almost like an actual preparatory course. And the guy talks like this through the whole thing, and he tells you about how wonderful it is to be a BJCP judge. And I'm just like,
Is that like beer pop, barley pop maker or something like that?
no,
from
I haven't
Costa
seen that
Rica?
one.
Okay.
No, I don't remember who this was, but and then I happened upon your full length episode about the online exam, and then saw the short pour as well, and that was how I found you guys. And I was like, well, these guys are fun to hang out with. And then I found out that you're just down the road from me, and then messaged you guys and said, hey, love the show, blah blah blah. And you're like, well, get your ass to Kalamazoo and come hang out with us. And I'm like,
Hell yeah.
fuck yeah, I'm not doing anything next Sunday. And so fast forward another year or so, it was the end of 2022. I took the online exam and passed, and then found, I know you guys had already had your tasting exam prep classes going. And so I found the guys here in Grand Rapids, Beer City BJCP, right about the time I got my certificate. I don't even remember how. I think it was on like the West Michigan Homebrewers page on Facebook. Hey, we're doing, this thing to be a BJCP judge. I'm like, well, fuck yeah, here we go. And so I jumped in with those guys, and it's been really cool learning all the, getting the experience, learning about the whole process, refining my palate as much as I can. And I just kept thinking about how there's nothing there really isn't anything out there that's like the homebrew for life or the brewlosophy or the I decided the other day, I said what I want from this channel is I want to be the how to brew for BJCP judges. And so I started putting ideas together, and then again, Bryan and I are very similar. I hyper focus and I am a 70s Ritalin kid. I am ADHD. Well, the H part has kind of tapered off, but the ADD is still there very heavily. So I will hyper focus. I will go out and learn as much as I possibly can before I try the new thing. And so found some great resources again on YouTube, which is a good place if you're going to be on YouTube. Let's talk to people that can tell you how to be there and do it successfully. So put together the trailer video for the channel, and it is cringy as hell, but
it's not. It's fine.
It was the first, okay, I'm just going to do this and learn the program and learn the process, and there it is. And I'll probably end up changing it at some point. Did a few shorts for the channel. It is really hard to come up with a 1 minute or less video that has some sort of value to it when you're trying to do what do they call it, edutainment.
Yeah.
To not only educate somebody but also offer some entertainment in a minute is really tough. So I've also started throwing out weird beer facts for fun. One of them was about the fact that Anheuser-Busch wants to put a brewery on Mars. Which I finished by saying, does Elon Musk know about this? So yeah, the latest video that is up is about who is the BJCP, kind of a 50,000 foot view of the BJCP, the different judging ranks and how those all work. And the next one is on the online exam. I'm putting that together right now. Starts off with a little pop quiz, and we go through and grade it as we, as I share the information.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
Your your voice and the way that you're delivering the bite-sized bits of data, it just goes really well. Like, it was super cool. I know Stevens did the one short pour, which was super awesome about
Mhm.
taking the online exam. And I've always tried to come up with, well, what short format thing could I do, or to add some value to the channel. I can't come up with it, so I commend you on even looking at your shorts. However many you have, a handful you've got. Like, holy shit, that's way better than I've ever been able to do. And it's hard making content.
It is. It is. And I was a musician for 30 years. This is funny. It's a lot like songwriting, only I don't have a room full of people to bounce ideas off of now. I am the sole creator, the editor, the
Yep.
script writer, everything, the camera guy. So it's a big learning curve, but I'm having a blast doing it.
No, it's awesome. And as you saw, Gail's in chat, we kicked that over to her. She's one of the Michigan AAHA representatives and Grandmaster Judge, and she's saying it's a good intro to the BJCP. So
Hell yeah.
we're happy that being able to have it on the show and share it with the groups has gotten you some extra views, and will hopefully continue to do so.
And I really appreciate you guys sharing that. And I was listening to the episode, and you, Jason, said, "How come I didn't know about this?" And I'm like, "Well, because I only have the one video, and I wanted to wait until I had actual content before I went and told people, hey, I did a thing." But I really do appreciate it. And Gail, thank you very much for the comment as well. I'm glad you guys like it. It's really fun, and I feel pretty passionate about this, just like you guys do. We need more good judges out there. We need to flood the system with good judges, so that the great beer guys kind of don't get asked to come and judge anymore.
So what's your next step? You're in the Beer City group. Are you taking your written exam in November?
Exactly 2 months from today, November 11th.
Ooh,
nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. A little anxious, but I've got three judging sessions, actually 4, under my belt. So and then every class that we do with Beer City BJCP is basically we're judging 3 to 4 samples every time. So I know I've got my time down. I can get a score sheet done in about 12 to 15 minutes and have good feedback, and everything's filled out. I'm just still trying to figure out some of these styles, and it's a hell of a lot easier to grade these things when you've got the style guidelines right there and go, okay, yeah, I tasted that, I didn't taste that, okay, so a point off, but to have to go from memory and go, yeah, tastes like a Schwartz beer, thumbs up.
Yeah.
That ends up being a Baltic Porter or something.
Yeah. Belgian Pale.
Yeah, hopefully. I think I'm on the standby list for that November 11th class, and
cool.
He told me he felt good about it. I should be able to get in, so hopefully I do. Yeah, I'm excited to come up there and take it. I wish I was able to come up and do some of the tasting classes or tasting sessions with you guys. I've just been practicing my sheets on my own. But on that topic, now I know it's not official because he hasn't gotten the email yet, but Bryan Stevens does know that he passed his written exam. And
no shit, that's great, man.
Tasting exam.
Their tasting exam.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Will be an official judge as soon as he gets his email with his rank.
Supposedly, it just needs to be refreshed on the website. So, as I understand it, I don't know. So we'll see. But yeah, it's good to hear. That's
very cool.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
And I think I might have enough points where I'm certified already too. I believe I've judged enough competitions / helped organize where I have enough points, which is, I think it's just 10, 5 judging, 5 other. So I think we'll see what happens.
Feel like yes. I mean, because I feel like I know I gave you points in both the 3 or 4 comps that we've done together.
Mhm.
Yeah, just totally have them. Which reminds me, I need to go register Keeper's Cup.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we talked to, or I talked to, gosh, I think I sent it to Perry yesterday, asking if your group, well, not your group, but the Beer City BJCP group, if any of y'all would be interested in judging Keeper's Cup for us this year. So it's going to be like literally, if they just got like 6 judges, they could knock it out in like an hour probably. So easy half point, I think, or point. I can't remember how many they'll get for just that one session, but
I think it's a half point for a
yeah.
Half point for the judges. I think you'll get a point as an organizer. I'll tell you in a little bit because I've got it up in front of me.
Okay.
But
he said he thinks he can gather some people, so yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, and those guys are really good. The core group. It's funny because it started off with probably like 20 guys in a room, you know, and over the course of time now it's gotten down to we've got a core group of I would say about a dozen of us that show up on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
kind of goes to show that, you know, it's what you would expect from something like that. You know, everybody's trying it out at first, and the folks that really are enjoying it and really do dig it, they go for they keep coming back, and the ones that find out, well, maybe this whole judging thing isn't my bag, you know, they stay home that night.
It is interesting to start learning about you know, even entering my first few competitions, some of the sheets I got back were, you know, better than others. And it wasn't really until I started reading into like how a score sheet should be judged, like what the like a minimum threshold should be for like good feedback was, that I was like, oh yeah, like there's a lot of people judging beer out there that really aren't doing their due diligence. So that's kind of what got me on board is I want to be the change I want to see in the world, right?
There we go.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the thing that used to irritate us the most was getting just the shitty feedback, you know, or good beer, or you know, or bad beer or whatever. And it's frustrating when we got judges that go through all of this work and then just, you know, fuck off on the score sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we've mentioned this on the show yet. State Fair, I submitted a blueberry like fruit beer that Jason ended up having to judge, which is super cool. He didn't know it was mine or anything like that. But I don't know what I did with the beer, but I guess it ended up tasting like poop.
Oh,
no. I got a 14. It's my lowest ever score I've ever gotten on a beer. But I want to say that Jason's feedback on a beer that, you know, tasted and smelled like poop was still very good, considering he probably only took the one sip. I'm very impressed.
I judged this beer with a certified judge, and we, as soon as I brought it up to my nose, I was like, I was taken aback, and I look over, and the other judge is like sitting there smiling, waiting for me to do this. I think I was like finishing something up, and so I was a few seconds behind him, and he's like, "What do you get?" And I'm like, "I get poop." I'm like, "What the hell? Something's wrong," you know, and I'm freaking out. And of course, he's like, yeah, it's very enteric. So then I had to Google what enteric meant, which is poop. And so we actually sent the steward to go get the B bottle. So Gail said it's actually not butyric, it's enteric acid. Butyric is vomitous, and enteric is intestinal. So we learned this. The other judge educated me on that, Gail. So just FYI, the more you know. So it we got the B bottle and it was the same thing. And I wanted to not drink it at all. I wanted to actually like do a did not judge. I thought it like everything my body is telling me that this is dangerous. Don't drink this.
I'm so sorry.
But the other judge told me like, yes, let's just one sip and we'll score it. And then yeah, I gave it a 14, and or actually I think I gave it a 13. I think he gave it a 15. So his average score was 14. And I did try, like, I think I even wrote something like, something went, horribly wrong here. I apologize that this happened. I hope it was, a one-off, I don't know if I mentioned, like, try to do better with your cleaning and sterilization. I think I even wrote, like, if you ever brew this beer again, let me know to try it.
Right.
It was a very easy letdown.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is about as much as you can do, probably.
Then after judging is over, we're going out for a beer. I tell my fellow keepers and friends there that I, unfortunately had this poopy beer. I'm like, what the hell happened? And it's blueberry fruit. And then I'm looking at Bryan, and his face just is like, fuck that beer. I'm just like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
Like, did you brew any other blueberry beers or taste any other blueberry?
No. And so it was, yeah, I have that honor. Bryan, who is the most winningest homebrewer in our club, and the homebrewer that I chase now and try to emulate, and he makes me want to be a better brewer. I have gotten the honor of giving him his lowest ever score.
That was planned.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
I won't bitch about the IPA. The 3 IPAs that I ended up judging that had the Band-Aid medicinal, because that's bad, but I'll take that any day over poop.
I'm pretty sensitive to that, like chlorophenols specifically, but Shayna is too. Shayna will pick it out, and then I won't taste it for another like 10 minutes. She's a super taster. Sorry, I'm trying to get a beer. I'm not trying to look awkward on camera. You guys ever had a Fritz Lager from Old Nation?
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, I have
of it.
this past weekend.
Did you go pick some up from H&B?
2 weekends ago. I don't know.
Okay.
I had it at Chase and Alyssa's place while you were there.
Oh, yeah. I gave you that can.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah. Not that this is going to apply to anybody outside of Kalamazoo, but it was $5 a 4-pack at H&B Market. They probably still have some, so I will take it for $5.
So, Bryan Fischer,
Yes.
What's next? Like, I mean, you mentioned you have the next video that's coming out in that topic, but where do you see this going? What do you have, like, a kind of roadmap on what other topics you'd like to hit in the overall BJCP world?
Yeah, right now I'm kind of trying to lay the groundwork. Who is the BJCP? This is what the online exam entails.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to do a couple of videos. Right now, the main vibe of the videos is it's a voiceover with slides and that sort of thing. I do want to do a couple where it's just me talking to the camera. The first one I want to do is my very first time judging, when I came with you guys to judge Celebrity Deathmatch. Those experience videos in my mind are going to play out better. Me just talking to a camera, saying this is what happened to me, and rather than trying to come up with clever slides and goofy shit, to throw in there. So
Yeah.
it'll be a little bit different as far as that goes. I do want to do live, filmed tastings, going through a sensory tasting for either one particular style or like we do at Beer City BJCP, Perry and Matt do a great job of getting light styles together.
Mhm.
So we'll do what was one of them was we did an American stout, an oatmeal stout, and an imperial stout, and what is the same about them, what's different. So I want to do a series of videos on that to help with people getting their tasting notes and going through the proper way to taste and to taste like a judge. The other thing I was thinking of is also going through the score sheet, do the basic anatomy, and then how do you properly fill out a score sheet? What is a good score sheet compared to a bad score sheet? Don't do like one of the score sheets I've gotten where in the appearance section someone just checked off clarity, color, and
no.
Yeah,
it's like,
I've had those.
okay. I mean, I know we're under a little bit of a time constraint. You don't want to hang out and you're not there to write the great American novel for each sample that you get, but it's really like 3 fucking sentences. It's not that it's not that big of a deal. It's not Tolstoy. So
Well, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I want it to go. I definitely want to give my insight on what happens at the tasting exam. One of the things for me, I know I'm still trying to come up with how I want to set up the video about my first time judging. And one of the things that I thought was, anytime we do anything for the first time, it's a little scary. You're a little anxious. You're a little nervous. And I think if you can at least talk to someone who's been there before and say, hey, when I did it, this is what happened. This is what you can expect. These people are very nice, and they will, you will sit down with people who have been judging beers for, 10 years or more. And you're sitting there with your little mechanical pencil going, they know that I don't know shit. This is really fucked up. What am I doing? So that I know for me, when I sat down at Deathmatch and I've got 2 national ranked judges, one on each side of me. And I'm sitting there going, the imposter syndrome was so huge at that time. It was like, they know that I'm not a judge, and they do. They know exactly that you're an unofficial official judge. You're a provisional judge.
Yep.
And you're learning. And I think it's also one of the great things about the homebrew community as a whole is, for the most part, I mean, there's that 1% of dicks out there that that they have to make sure that that they know everything about brewing. But for the most part, people that have years and decades of experience have absolutely no problem sitting down with that guy that's brewing his first batch and go, yeah, okay, so this is the brew pot, this is the burner, and doing the explain to me like a 5-year-old sort of process without being condescending.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was really cool. When I left Deathmatch that day, I had so much fun, and I was driving home going, I want to do this every weekend.
Awesome.
This is awesome. This was so much fun. Everybody was so cool. And, meeting new people, meeting new judges, meeting new homebrewers in, at least in my state, and that was awesome too. And going to MHF and seeing people that I met at the beginning of the year, and they're like, hey man, how's it going? And it's like, hey buddy, you actually remember who I am. That's cool. So that's very encouraging. And I want to do that for other people that are thinking about becoming a judge. It's like, and kind of hopefully demystify some of this stuff.
Yeah.
you tell somebody you have an hour to answer 180 multiple choice questions, and just say, okay, go. They're gonna completely vapor lock. They're gonna sit that, they're gonna sit there. You're gonna grab their mouse and just fucking blue screen, and they're done. But if you sit them down and say, it's 180 questions, it's an hour to answer them. Here's how it's laid out. Here's what you can expect. Here's some things that I did that helped me.
Yeah.
The whole point of my video on the online exam was, I passed on my first try with less than 2 years brewing experience, limited knowledge of ales, and almost no knowledge of lagers. So if I can do it as green as you can be, if you've got any sort of experience on this, you are going to be fine. It's 1000% doable.
I actually think the online test was harder than the tasting exam, to be super completely honest. Yeah. Especially if you've judged competitions before, because then it's honestly, you have more time to take the tasting exam than they really would rather you take in judging a real competition.
Okay.
Like 15 minutes of beer, like you're kind of trying to get moving in the 10-12 mark, like in a competition. So like,
unless you go to Glint Gap and then you have to pump it out in 4 minutes.
they had a fucking timer out. They had a clock. They had a clock and a whip.
Yep. But I was going to say it is easy it's common sense. It's easy if you don't come home drunk from a homebrew comp and just sit down and try to knock it out in 18 minutes. Because I failed my first time.
I was saying, maybe that was my problem.
Yeah. I'm like, I can do this. Click, 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 click.
I still got two attempts left.
They do expire, Jordan.
Oh fuck!
So,
maybe I
I
don't.
was gonna, so make sure you take them. Make sure you use them. I think they're good for a year.
Fuck.
Yeah.
We'll find out. They might be making another $30.
If you ever want to talk, Brian, about my experience taking the tasting, though, like for the first time, I'm glad to share. From what I remember.
As I get a little closer, I will definitely hit you up.
Cool.
But yeah, it was, like I said, it's just, there are so many how to brew and how to brew a hazy IPA and how to brew an English mild. And Martin Keene with the Homebrew Challenge did such a great job of saying, here's how to brew every damn style there is. Now I'd like to be able to, I'd like to at least help bring to the table, here's how you judge an IPA. Here's how you judge an oatmeal stout.
Yeah. I think that would be, I think that's, like you said earlier, that doesn't exist out there right now. Or at least it doesn't exist in a usable or entertaining format. And so I think what you're doing is amazing. And I think it would be awesome to be, I'd sit there and listen to all, 40 plus of those if you did everyone for every style. I think that's neat. It's honestly, when we try to do style shows, or we used to do style shows, that's what I would do. I'd go to the guidelines and really like read up and try to learn about the style. And I think that's where I got a lot of my information. And so kind of going through that for how you judge, it'd be very similar and informative.
I think that brings up sort of an interesting point too. So, you can make a YouTube video, one YouTube video for every single subcategory of beer and say, this is how you brew it. But, is it good? Like, is that actually how you brew it? Like, is that how the person that has made that style 50 times would brew it? And I think, Brian, you're going to have a really unique experience where you're going to be talking to a lot of judges and you're going to be doing, a lot of research. You're going to be judging a lot of competitions and stuff. And instead of being like the person that, is going to be the go-to for like a Czech lager or something like that, you are going to be the person that, that people should go to when they have questions about, like, being a good judge.
Mhm.
You can walk up to, a random BJCP judge, and like you said, there's all sorts of levels of judges out there that are, certified or national or whatever, and they're not all of the same caliber necessarily.
Right.
It's those people that put in that have the passion and put in the work, and care about it more as something external to them. They care about helping the other people, about making judges better and stuff like that. And I think that's where you fit in. Is you're not doing it because you want to be like Bryan Fischer, the BJCP judge. Like, look at me. You want to bring in that new wave. I feel
Right.
like
Right.
of people, and if somebody asks somebody random, later on, oh, how did you get started in the BJCP? It's like, oh, well, there's this Bryan Fischer guy. He helped get me started, and that's going to be your legacy, sort of. So,
And I would like that. I would like that. And that's the other, you had said, I'm not out there trying to be, Mr. Know-it-all. I'm very, very upfront. I am a provisional judge. I have passed my online exam. That's it. I know, as my favorite character on Ozark says, I know shit about fuck. But I'm learning, and I also feel that the best way to learn stuff sometimes is to teach it, because then you retain a little bit better.
Yep.
Good call.
So this is also for me. I mean, there's a little bit of selfishness in here. This is helping me to study. This is helping me. But if I can do this in a fun manner and still get good information to folks, and like you said, turn one person on to judging, even if it's, somebody that's been homebrewing for 2 weeks, they I guess I kind of bucked the system. Usually it's after your second batch, you want to open your own brewery.
Yeah.
After my second batch, I was like, I'm either going to open a homebrew shop or I'll go be a judge. And being a judge is a lot less cost effective for me.
Yeah.
There's no startup capital for being a judge.
Do you remember the feeling after you won your first medal?
Oh, absolutely.
Like imagine being the person that gets to award that, right? You're basically like a homebrew Santa. You're just like giving out all these presents to people and making them feel good. Like, it's great.
Yeah, that is cool.
I'll tell you, that's honestly what made running Beer Cup worth it.
Yeah, totally.
Finally being able to hand out, those 90 plus medals, and gift cards, and have people just be excited about it. And that's why I really enjoy running comps. I never wanted to be a judge.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. My thing, I was like, Brian's going to be the judge, or the other guys are going to be the judge. I'm going to run the comps. I actually don't know why. I think, I wanted to help State Fair. I felt, Blair and Michigan State Fair and has really helped Beer Cup, and and he had helped even offering a place, for Beer Cup to hold judging if needed, and he was very supportive of some of my questions and stupid stuff like that. And so I wanted to help Blair, and he needed judges, so I finally went back and took the online exam again and passed. So at least I could go be a provisional judge, and I might as well. Now I did that, I might as well do the tasting exam.
Absolutely.
In it. So I would say, I don't know if this is an episode for your line of the BJCP, or if we need to do it as Michigan Brews, or maybe both. But I would love to do an episode on what the fuck is Mini Besta Show.
Oh God, yeah, right.
And really explain that,
that is a good thing.
I think from your perspective, from the BJCP, explaining what and how a Mini Besta Show should run to people that are looking to become judges would be really good. And maybe on Michigan Brews, we can do one for entries that says you've entered a competition. You got that little checkbox on your score sheet that said you went to Mini Best of Show. What the hell does that mean?
What is, yeah, because it's one of those things. If you don't know what the terminology is, or you don't know what the exact process is, if you're a new to the competitive home brewing like I am, I just started this year. Somebody says, yeah, your beer went to Mini Best of Show. Sweet, that's awesome. What's that mean?
Yeah.
Well, it means that they considered it to throw into Best of Show. Sweet, that's awesome. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Ours was, I think that's the feedback that we got the most. And it's not necessarily feedback, but so in Beer Cup this year, we did cube judging, which is the recommended style of judging by BJCP. I believe it's on their website. And when you do that, and we needed to do that with the number of entries and the number of judges that we had. But when you do that, you wind up with multiple judge pairs judging the same category of beer in almost every category. And when you have multiple judge pairs judging the same category of beer, you have to run a Mini Best of Show to kind of, balance out the multiple palates that were trying that beer. And so in a lot of cases this year in Michigan Beer Cup anyway, there were a significant number of categories where the highest scoring beer did not win gold, or in several cases did not win a medal. And because it came down to Mini Best of Show and which judge or which beers were picked. And I think those are the ones, not saying that there's negativity out there, it's just I think it caused the most questions.
Mhm.
Like people emailed us, commented on social media, wanted to know why and how this happened, and Bryan did a great job like sending them the link to BJCP sites and rules and and trying to explain it. But I think that's something that needs to be more prevalent. So I think we need to hit it from both sides. We need to do a whole brews.
Yep, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot.
But it would be good for a judge to kind of explain that too, because I think, and I'm just trying to decide how far I want to go in it. I think there were some judges that were even confused about, how to do a Mini Best of Show and who, should kind of participate in the Mini Best of Show and things like that. And I can really trying to do.
I can understand how that would be the case as well, because from a judging standpoint, you're there to judge the beers, and I think, and again, being new to the whole process as well, I don't know all the ins and outs of all this stuff. And I know that there are, as there are questions on the online exam, there are rules to how organizers behave and how the judges behave and the things you can and can't do. But yeah, I have not looked into that whole hierarchy of, what is considered, first, second, and third place. What is gold, silver, and bronze? What is a Mini Best of Show? What is Best of Show actually mean? And how does that all get determined?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good line. I mean, I know you've got a lot of content ahead of you, and I think that's good to keep out there on the radar. I think it'd be interesting to see your take, or at least the way that you deliver the information to cover some of those topics. So
I'm also going to be taking a suggestion from Brian Stevens on doing an episode. What is a judge? Basically, what is it? What is it when you say I'm going to judge a homebrew competition? What are you? What's expected of you? What can you expect?
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that, and I said, yeah, I guess if you just grabbed somebody off the street and said, hey, do you want to come judge a homebrew competition? Well, what do I have to do? Well, you have to taste beers and judge them. Yeah, I'm in. And but what does that mean in their mind? Are they thinking it's like you just take a sip and go, I like it, I don't like it? Or, or are you expected to be, there in a a coat with patches on the elbows, swirling it around, talking about how you get, notes of canned peaches and watermelon and a slight hint of rubber hose. What is it? What does it all mean? So
No, it's great.
It's funny. I can actually tell you, because I've told a number of people that I'm like kind of loosely studying to become a beer judge, and people always ask questions like, oh well, how does that happen? Like, I love craft beer, and they're a craft beer drinker, and they're like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to do it. So you give them the process, and they're like, oh, so it's free beer. Yeah, I'm in.
It is though. Yeah,
it is. But it turns
but,
into like that ends up being the motivator for like bringing somebody off of the street, rather than like, that's where the check marks come from. They're like, I'm drinking beer.
But like we had at Cup this year, and I appreciate it. Look, I love the support in this community, and I've said that on so many shows, but we had people show up, and it's just like, I want to judge. I heard you need judges. I want to judge. I'm like, well, are you a home brewer? No. Are you a cicerone? No. Do you work at a brewery? No. Like, why are you here? I just like beer. Great, but I don't,
Yeah.
I appreciate the enthusiasm, but
I don't want to like knock people for doing that. Like, oh, I like beer, I want to be a judge. Like, yeah, that's great, but you just got to make sure that there's that little dial that's turned in their head, that it's like, people are looking for actual feedback here.
It's
as well
not
as you
their
having
fault.
some free beer.
Yeah, it's not their fault that they don't understand what occurs with judging.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's like what I tried to tell them was like, great. A couple of them, I was like, well, why don't we have you steward so you can see the process and learn a little bit about that way? And hey, great. You still get to drink some free beer.
More beer than the judges.
More beer. Yeah. and
that's
for others,
what's going on back there.
Yeah. But for others, it was like, well, hey, let me see if I can find a really experienced judge that can educate you. I know, I don't know if Gail's still watching, but like that would have been one, I could pair somebody with Gail to get really introduced. Not that I would stick her with somebody that had no idea about brewing, but that's the kind of thing that I was looking for. And unfortunately they couldn't hang out, but just to get into what and why we do what we do. It's funny, people, they're familiar with the term, cicerone, and they understand what that is to wine, and that's important, and that's a very prestigious, hard to get, certification, and they don't really kind of equate, the work that, not saying that it's the same, but that beer and BJCP does for trying to standardize.
Yep.
Well, and it should probably be mentioned too, now that you say that, that the BJCP and judging is pretty much like only in relation to homebrew competitions.
Yep.
Like that's what the guidelines are for. Like you don't walk into a brewery and be like, I'm a BJCP judge and this beer tastes like blah blah blah, because like that may not be the brewery's intention, right? Like they're not entering into a competition. You're not there to like judge their shit. Like it's literally there to present the most baseline guidelines that they can for the purpose of comparing hopefully similar, beers and ranking them. And that's it,
Yeah.
But I'll go one farther on you there. So this one, and this one, I remember, and I'm not trying to start some shit, but I remember in the past.
Starting shit. Thanks, Gail.
That's awesome.
But I remember a couple of years ago, when there was the change in NHC in the Nationals, where they changed score sheets, and what year was it, Ryan? It was like 3 years ago, like right post COVID. Because they had to do a shorter format.
Short format, yeah.
I think that was 21.
So like we didn't get scores, we didn't get comments. We got very, very light score sheets with very little feedback. And there were a lot of people on the Reddit and or on the various Reddits and other communities saying, well, you're in nationals, you don't need feedback, you should know what the fuck you're doing. And it was like, that pissed me off so much, because what you just said, kind of comparing beer to the Cicerone thing, is we're all homebrewers. Everybody here is an amateur, and BJCP is the judging guidelines for amateurs, and it is to provide feedback. Nationals isn't the big show. It isn't for the pros of the homebrewers. It's for homebrewers.
Yeah.
And I can be a
What a
homebrewer.
great way to put that.
And I want that feedback from every beer and every competition that I enter.
Absolutely.
And that's how
there's no qualifiers to get into nationals. Right. You pay your dues to submit your shit regardless.
Yeah.
And for the price that they want to charge you to submit for national, you better fill out a fucking sheet for me. Yeah. I want to know what you thought about it. I don't want.
I know we're getting into some gray area
and that, but yeah.
And I know we're getting into some gray area, and I know national. It's hard. It's a hard. That's a we Bryan and I run a 300, 400 seat, 500 seat competition. Nationals is damn near 10,000 sometimes. Right. It's a different beast. They do have a lot of things to pump through. They do have a limited number of judges. I understand that. But just to say that you're in nationals and you shouldn't expect feedback, I disagree. I think I think none of us are pros, or at least none of us are acting in the capacity of a professional during a homebrew competition.
You'd hope, at least, yeah.
And so I think feedback is key from everyone. And that's why before I start every comp that we run, I always ask the judges to, remember why we're here and why we're doing what we're doing, and to, take the time and provide the feedback. And, I do call out, and I know I've got judges that are in that room that have left the good beer comments. I've seen it. I know who they are. And I still try to encourage them to take a minute, like you said earlier, to quote Bryan Fischer, write 3 fucking sentences.
You're already getting quoted.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So I know earlier I poured my Guinness right in front of my microphone. And I saw your beer pouring ASMR. So hopefully.
No, I think that's good. We need to get you some better microphones. That way we can actually get the real effect.
It's like one of the YouTube channels I like for the how to brew stuff is Hops and Gnarly. And I always like at the end of his videos, he's kind of this hippie-ish looking kid from, I think, Colorado or something like that. And at the end of each one of his videos, he's like, and now I'm just going to leave you with some tasty B-roll. And he does all the B-roll from his filming his brew day with just like this, chill vibe, sort of, chill house music going on. So yeah, get some ASMR and get some chill.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull this up. I knew Gail would chime in, but yes, I agree completely. Second round NHC final table, limited feedback. Sure, you got your sheet.
I'll take no feedback there.
Yeah,
because that feedback should come from the beginning.
And I think everybody realizes that 2021 was a mistake. But I'm just saying, like, when that was happening, when the chat rooms and the communities and the threads were going wild after NHC, there were a lot of people that were like, "Oh, you don't need feedback for your nationals," and I say bullshit. But yeah, second round, there really shouldn't be any feedback there. You've got your sheet and you got your feedback on the beer, and now you're kind of going to that mini best of show, which there's no feedback. So I totally get that. So thanks for calling that out, Gail.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things that we talked about the last session that I was present for at Beer City. We're talking about kind of the judging process and best to show, and how if your beer goes on to best to show, how now we're not judging according to the guidelines. It's more the judge's interpretation. It's like, okay, so because now you've got this imperial stout, you've got this Vienna lager, you've got a blonde ale, and you've
Sure.
got, you know, a Belgian quad. Which one's the better one?
Yep. It's a beauty pageant.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's much more subjective at that point.
you know, I couldn't imagine the struggle that those guys have to go through. You know, I've seen best of shows take hours, and that just I couldn't be able, I wouldn't be able to do that, to be able to pick the best out of these, you know, 32 great or whatever.
Right.
Especially if you have, you know, 3 or 5 judges that have like very strong opinions on like very particular beers. And you know, even over the course of the best of show, the beers can change. Yep. Because, you know, it's going on for, you know, more than half an hour to be sure. And those beers are going to change,
right?
You know, over the course of that tasting, and, you know, which one holds up. Like, is a beer that got knocked out in the first 10 minutes, would that have tasted better 30 minutes later? You know, I don't know.
And then it's 30 tough. Minutes later, would it, you know, it now doesn't taste, you know, as it did 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yep. A lot of that comes down to, you know, we could do a whole show on this too. What we have done shows on brewing for competition, but just like keeping things like that in mind, like knowing that 95% of the time when a judge pours a beer, they're going to do a harder pour to try to get some head going, and that's going to knock some carbonation out of the beer. And so how do you carb it when it gets into the bottle to make sure that it tastes the way you want it to when it, you know, when it gets to the judge? And
it's a balance.
Know, oh my gosh,
there's a dance.
And there's luck, you know, really. What people need to understand more than anything else is that there's for sure bias and luck involved with homebrew competitions. And
absolutely,
if you don't win or medal, it's not necessarily your fault. Like, it's a numbers game sometimes, and sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't.
Was it last year or the year before? We had, so Matt Ushman, a friend of the channel, he does his YouTube channel is Trouble Brewing. Check him out. But Matt Ushman was on, it was his first competition. He entered the same beers, I believe, to Michigan State Fair as Michigan Beer Cup, and he got like no medals in one and medals in the other or something like that. And it's actually, I don't know why I'm calling out Matt Ushman for that, because it's happened to me multiple times. I've entered the same 5 beers in both comps and gotten drastically different results. And they're judged literally in years past 1 week apart. So like, it's the same bottling, it's the same everything, you know, the same environmentals for the most part. You know, and in a lot of cases, the same goddamn judges, because they're both, you know, in Detroit. And a lot of the people cross over, and you just get, you know, crazy different results.
Yep. I had my dark mild judged at a competition, and the judges came back with, you know, that it had acetaldehyde all through it. And I was like, oh shit. You know, I went and threw one in, you know, took one out of the fridge and popped it open, and I had Tanya taste it, and I tasted it, and I just handed it to her and said, do you taste anything funny with this? No. I said, okay, neither do I. And I just kind of came to the realization that, yeah, I can get upset, and I can fire off an email to somebody and, how dare you rob me of my gold medal on this beer, you know. But at the end of the day, it's that person at that table with that beer in that glass and what they taste.
Yep.
And, you know, so you enter it into 2 or 3 more competitions, and then you start seeing where it all settles out. What's kind of the I guess the mean brew, you know, average of it all. Call out Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, again, you know, that's what I kind of like about Matt's channel, Mean Brews, is you know, it's a different take on the how to brew thing, you know, standing out, you know, standing out from the crowd. I mean, because I would hate to start a How to Brew channel right now, because you are just screaming into a complete, wind tunnel. There's so much out there.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm kind of scratching my head as to why I decided to start a How to Judge channel, because that is, you want to talk about a niche market.
Yeah.
That's it.
I've got a couple of videos that have double-digit views, and I'm like, yay! And
when you first
again, oh yeah, oh absolutely, that and I'm just starting to get out there and put stuff out. And I do want to thank you guys for mentioning the channel, because you have quadrupled my subscriptions. I went from 2 to 9.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
We
I'm hoping we'll share this around the clubs and anybody that watches it. And I know we've got people from the east side watching right now. If you can share it around the clubs and get some more activity. BJCP. Well, I would say I've heard, and I've actually heard Brian Stevens say it quite a bit, that, and I think it's a general consensus, is home brewing is kind of on a downward trend right now, nationwide. But I feel like BJCP is kind of trickling upward, at least here in Michigan and the community around here. I'm seeing a lot more people interested in it. I'm seeing more people showing up to judging competitions or to help do judging competitions. And just like we've got, the folks over on East Side organizing an event that earlier this year, we've got the Grand Rapids group, doing something this fall. I'm hoping that we can work with Gail and Doug and some of the other judges that we know to set something up in Kalamazoo, maybe early next spring, somewhere around there, and get some Kalamazoo people involved.
So just wanted to, because you sparked something off the top of my head. You said home brewing on its own is kind of like on its way down. I do agree with that. I think that's a much larger topic. I'll touch on that in just a second. And then judging is on its way up, and I think that there's a little bit of correlation there. But I think, if I've done my reading properly, I think just drinking in general is on a pretty sharp downward path in society. That could be a topic for a whole other show, but we could be talking easily mid double digit declines over generation to generation. So it's not, I don't think that's just home brewing. I think that's just alcohol in general. So
I mean, it could be rebound from COVID, where drinking went way the fuck up.
No, this is what I'm talking about is a generational study. So looking at the differences in drinking between millennials, Gen X,
that would
Gen
be
Y, Gen Z, and not that big of a difference between Gen X and millennials. But you move into Gen Z, and from what I've read, we're looking at almost a 20% decline, and they're kind of expecting that to go even further with the next generation. So could be some trouble, but
I think that's an interesting thing to dig into at some point. I agree with that.
Like I said, much bigger topic, but I heard a story I was listening to a while ago on my way home from somewhere.
From what I've heard on the brewing front, and I can tell, from my experience, when I started home brewing, 10 years ago, there were a fair number of breweries in Michigan. I feel like I got on the train pretty late, but I remember there was I think Brewery Map or Tagger Brew, whoever was tracking back then, there was 100 or 125 breweries in Michigan. And so I got into that because I wanted to make beer that I couldn't get anywhere else. And now, in today, one Google search I did was over 500 breweries in Michigan.
Yeah, it's really exploded.
Yeah. And I think it's just the amount of beer and the amount of craft beer and styles that are available on the market is really just, it's driving down the numbers of why do I need to brew? I mean, I personally haven't brewed but one time in the last year, but I haven't gone without beer, or even gone without the styles that I want to drink. So I think the market's flooded, and
absolutely.
And I think that, now, where people used to get into homebrewing because they wanted to try something different, and now we have to trigger different markets. I actually didn't get into homebrewing because I wanted to get beer that I couldn't get somewhere else. I got into it because I like to cook and I like the science of it, and it sounded, neat. And I think that's what we need to push.
That was me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got my first kit was a Mr. Beer, and it said it was a Mexican lager. It tasted more like, I don't know. It was beer flavored beer, but I mean,
it's still beer. That's
yeah. I mean, I'm sure if I were to be able to have that beer now, I could tell you it probably had all sorts of flaws. I mean, because there was a little packet of dried yeast in there that I have no fucking clue how old that was. I'm sure there were like 7 cells that were all just kind of duking out. Like, we can do this, boys. And I had so much fun doing it. I mean, that 6-pack that I made out of that Mr. Beer kit, I drank them all very slowly, but I drank them all.
Speaking,
go ahead.
No, you finish.
Yeah, but it wasn't so much, oh my God, I made this incredible beer, I'm gonna go start a brewery because I'm the greatest brewer in the world. It was, I had so much fun doing this, and I really do just enjoy the fact, it's a great way to spend an afternoon. You sit and watch water boil for a while, and and then you wait for a while, and then you put it into bottles. But to your point, Jason, about having styles accessible, I know for me, I still bottle condition. I don't have room here at our place for a kegerator, so I bottle condition. So I know I'm not going to make IPAs. I'm especially not going to do hazies. I'll go buy those because there are so many of them out there that no matter what kind of hop combination I come up with, or water profile or grain bill, somebody's done it, and I'm going to end up with something that's going to come out either purple or gray, and, tasting like, Bigfoot's toe jam. And I don't need that, so, but I will sit there and go, I've never had, I don't know, an English pale, never made one, tried one for the first time last night at the meeting. And I was like, yep, that needs to go on the brew schedule, because that's a damn good beer. So that's exactly it.
Well, you had mentioned your first beer being a kit, and for those that want to get into it, and that's the route they want to go, I did want to call out that I did find this is still available.
Oh my God!
He's red.
You can buy a beer kit made by Bryan Stevens himself from labelpeelers.com, and you can get into homebrewing with our very own Michigan Brews host.
Hell yeah!
Yep,
that's cool.
Did you know that still existed, man?
It's a good beer. I'm brewing my next variation of that in probably 2 weeks. It's my fall beer. It's my fall IPA. So that's really funny. So it was a contest of sorts where, like, you email them a recipe and tell them about your beer and this and that, and they picked 3 people. I think they gave me like a $50 gift card, and it was supposed to be like an affiliate thing too for a while. Like, they were gonna like give me like a 5-10% cut of every time that kit got sold. and then they like canceled their affiliate program like 2 months after the competition.
Nah.
But apparently, yeah, I guess you're still selling the kit. That's really funny.
Yep, it's available.
We'll have to get you a lawyer and send him a letter.
Yeah,
I want my beer kit money, man.
I should buy the kit. I should make it.
I actually think that sat in my cart for the longest time. Like I was going to buy the kit and like just have it set, on the shelf back here.
Yep.
I should do that. It's on sale right now. I mean, it's like $23. You can't beat.
That's not a bad deal for
It's really
a
not
kit.
bad for all the malt and stuff.
Mhm.
I don't think it includes yeast. Is
I closed
the
the
one
window.
thing.
Hold on.
Still.
Are you buying it?
No, I'm going back to it to see what.
Oh, okay.
It's $22.03. It contains 8 pounds of Tulo, 2 pounds of Vienna, 8 ounces of Crystal 20, 8 ounces of Victory, 3 ounces of Crafa Special 3. And then it comes with, it looks like 4 ounces of Centennial. It does list yeast here, WPL 007.
Wow, that's old. Does it not have Simcoe in the recipe?
No.
Yeah, that's like the very first generation of that beer. That's funny. It's had Simcoe and Centennial for like the last 3 years now, I think. So that must be like a 4-year-old recipe.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, it's currently on sale, 35% off.
Okay.
Yeah.
If anybody wants the newer, updated version of the recipe, let me know. I will give it to you. Brew it, and we can drink it together.
For
Because
$18.03.
yeah, no.
So there's a link to the label peeler site in our chat.
Oh my god!
Check out Brian's old ass Benny's Red recipe. But if you do reach out to us at MichiganBrews.com, he will remember and post the recipe.
No, I'm gonna make a note for myself right now. I'm gonna post the recipe to Facebook tomorrow. Let me
Right on.
Hold on, here we go. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Remind me to post Benny's Red recipe.
Love it.
Let's see what that autocorrects to. Post Benny's bread recipe. It was really close. So yeah, we used to have a rabbit named Benny, who had he was like white and red, or I guess like white and orange, but it was named after him.
Very cool. It's one of my favorite things is the stories behind beer names. I did like that at MHF. I'd never seen that at a competition before, the Shakespeare Award. I thought that was pretty neat. Just acknowledging some of the creativity that goes into more than just the beer itself, the recipe. It's like, here's this, funny name, or this crazy name, or this, very thought-provoking name, those sorts of things. I think that's always fun.
More than anything else, I really, because I don't have a lick of this in me, I appreciate the homebrewers that make their own labels.
Oh yeah.
Because there are some really creative people out there, and that 100% is not me. And some people take it to extremes, and it's really cool. I suck at naming beers. I suck at making labels. That's just not like my jam. That's not the way my brain works. But I appreciate like all the people that put in,
Right.
as much effort to that as they do in like making the beer itself. Yeah, for sure.
I believe every beer needs a name, but yeah, the labels. I think my first 3 or 4 beers. I used to have I didn't used to have a friend. A friend of mine used to be a digital artist, I think is the right way to say it, and he would create these amazing labels for me for like the first 2 or 3 beers that I made, and then it just got to be like too much work. I mean,
you're already putting a lot of work into the beer and bottling or kegging and whatnot, and then just to add on top of, like, I'm not that creative of a person. Like, I think every medal that I've taken, which I say every, I honestly think it's only 2. I'd have to go take a look because I think you still have one.
I do.
Like, they've been iterative names. because I'm like, I don't think I just want feedback. Like, I don't know if this is gonna get anything. So like, my first gold medal was Pug A. I used to brew what was called Cinnapug. It was a beer my wife wanted. She wanted a cinnamon stout, so I'd brew it every year. I'd submit it to competitions and never did so well. So one year I just ended up brewing the base recipe. So I was like, this is my first iteration, Pug A. Like, iteration A1, whatever. Ended up taking gold. So I'm like, well, fuck, okay. And it was the same thing with my Schwartz beer. Like, I'm like, okay, I could do better at this. I felt like, I mean, it did okay at Bell's, but like, Schwartz won. Like, whatever. Like, I want the feedback. Like, so
my first beer, I named it. So the very first beer I brewed, I entered it into Siciliano's competition, and it took a bronze. And that was before that I kind of knew that Siciliano's, gave everybody within a certain range a medal. Like we've talked about this on the show before. But in my head, brand new home brewer, I won a goddamn medal with the very first beer.
Absolutely.
But I had named it Judgment. One, because that was my old WoW guild, was Judgment. And two, it was, if this beer sucks and they come back and they're like, you're a terrible brewer, then Judgment has been served and I'll never do this again. But if it's good, then I will keep going. And
so harsh.
Here you are.
They got a medal, so I kept brewing. And then I tried to play on that for a while, and so that was a regular IPA, an American IPA named Judgment. So then I was like, well, I need to make a black IPA, and I think I called that Justice. And then I made a double IPA. Did I call that one Vengeance? I don't know. I went down that. Like, I tried to name everything in the same, and then it just got lame. Now I come up with just whatever crazy sounding name. And I honestly haven't brewed a new beer in years. I mean, the closest we came is the mead that Bryan made for Homebrew Fest. And what do we call that? Rainbow Confliction?
Yeah.
And that's because we called the one last year Rainbow Connection.
You should brew an NA beer and call it Abstinence.
Abstinence. Okay.
That's the only set of beers that I have that have any sort of continuity in the name is and actually it's an iteration of the pale ale I have out here, because for one of our old friends, I guess not old friend, current friend, Travis Ross, guy who did our intro for us, I brewed a beer for him for his wedding. I named it Setting Sail. Like, it's kind of like a, hey, what and that did all right at a competition up in Grand Rapids. So I decided to do iterations of it. So I was like, oh, I kind of like the boat theme. So every iteration I make of that beer, I have like a double version. I called it Galleon, for like a bigger ship. And like, I'm like, oh, okay. So, that's right. That theme, that it's essentially a grain bill that I've solidified, and whatever hops go into it, I just end up changing the name into some other sort of naval term. But
yeah, all of my English ales are named after either a Monty Python skit,
yes,
excuse me, or character or something like that. My barley wine is Ministry of Silly Walks. The dark mild that I did is Dead Bishop on the Landing. I
love
it. Try to get names that fit the beer itself, and sometimes just take the low-hanging fruit. I mean, Ministry of Silly Walks for a 13% barley wine was pretty much
that's pretty
on the
spot on.
Yeah. You should do some like Imperial Red Ale and call it Flesh Wound.
Yeah or the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
You should make it like 12% because nobody would expect it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's my session red. Or my session 14%. Oh man.
Yeah,
those poor judges.
Right?
We're judging sessions. Jesus.
That's gonna be the new kind of like thing in beer is gonna be like meme beer is like people brewing for like, you know, the shits and giggles and stuff like that. Well, I guess that kind of already happened with like people throwing cakes and pies and shit into their beers.
Yeah.
maybe we're past that. I don't know.
No, I think
I keep thinking that like we've got to be past this pastry stout bullshit, and then
It's been the year of the lager for the last 8 years, so you know. Like,
I mean, no, I'm with you, Jason, because I'm not a fucking hummingbird. I don't want to drink sugar water constantly. Like, it's good to have like about this much,
yeah,
you know, but I don't.
I go over to, you know, friends' houses, and they get all fucking excited to break out, you know, these 3 pastry stouts that they stood in line for fucking ever to get, and you know, they're beaming about it, and then they're so super excited to fucking pour me a dribble of it, and then I taste it and they're like, this is fucking shit, dude.
Yeah, well,
You give me a spoonful of burnt sugar. I know Brian knows the story. There's a group in Kalamazoo, or a guy. I don't want to get too detailed, but there's a guy in Kalamazoo that's in a beer enthusiast group that I like traded some expensive hardware for a bottle of Dark Lord, and I was so excited, and I took this bottle of Dark Lord over to another you know, beer enthusiast friend of mine, and we cracked that open. We drank that much. We sat that fucker next to because we were out at the fire. We sat it next to the tree, and it sat there all fucking night. In the morning, I went and kicked it over because it was disgusting, fucking syrupy, nasty sugar shit. And I don't care if I pick off 3 Floyds. It is what it is. So
I was gonna make that point earlier when you were saying like, you know, when you first started brewing, there was like just over 300. Now there's, you know, over 500, probably broaching 600 in the, you know, breweries in the state. Like, there's only so many ways you can use Citra, or you know, like it's not like I'm not gonna lie, when I go walk out on the shelves or something like that, I'm seeing a lot of the same shit, and I have for like the past 4 or 5 years. And I'm a little burnt out by it.
Mhm.
So like I like looking for things that are, and I guess maybe that's just a, you know, more mature palate. I look for more beers that are more nuanced, like things that are a little more delicate, where it's like, okay, you have to know what the fuck. Yeah, where did the topic go? Yeah,
I know.
Hey, we lasted an hour and a half. So that's like
if it goes longer than 90 minutes, we're off charge.
I think
it is
very well.
So I'm just
to your point, Jordan, like I think back of to the beer that I used to buy like 10, 15 years ago, and I was buying like the weird beer that Shorts would put out every 2 weeks, like whatever the fuck that beer was with like the goat with like the cinnamon, like, horns and stuff like that. And like, you know, they would put out weird shit all the time, and they put out a beer called Snake Bite that was a coffee IPA that like it took 3 beers before you started to like it, and by then it's like
you'll like anything.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
That's probably like 9.5% too. No Shorts back in the day.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to work that hard for it.
But I bought one of those ever, you know, and then like I don't recall buying any of those again. Whereas I've bought how much fucking like Two Hearted or whatever still to this day.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for a good quality beer that's consistent.
Yeah. I don't mean to anger people or start some shit. Look, if you like, you know, super sweet, you know, if you like drinking maple syrup, then more power to you. I'm bummed that
I enjoy not having diabetes.
Yeah, I'm just bummed that those breweries. And again, I won't go there, Brian. But Brian wrote a good post years ago about the like correlation between sweet beers and untapped ratings.
Popularity.
The popularity of beer. You know, I should be on.
There's a reason Schramm's is #1 right now. they make a really good quality product,
Absolutely.
but
it's
their
very
meads
sweet.
all end their finishing gravity is like 1050 to 1090.
And
And don't get me wrong, I make mead like that too. The mead that I just took best of show with in beer cup, I think finished at like 1055, or something like that. Like, but it's all about balance, right? You can't
Right.
just fucking hawk like cheesecake into a beer and be like, enjoy. Like,
well,
I mean, you can.
Like,
You
Absolutely
can.
can. Like,
Okay,
let us know
I-
what happens.
I got to rethink my brew day Sunday. Never mind.
what I would argue there is the difference between Ken Schramm, that is, making a really amazing high gravity fruit mead that is balanced with acid and tannins and the different flavor complexities does not compare to a brewery in Kalamazoo throwing agave, chocolate, maple syrup,
Coconut.
lactose,
Yeah, say 6
all in
cups
the
of
same fucking
lactose.
beer, and it just being sugar.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
No, but
100%.
that's what I was gonna say about Schramm's is that like what they're crafting a nice like sweet wine is what it is.
is.
And I mean, and that's why sweet wines are very popular because they're very sugary. A lot of who doesn't like that, unless you absolutely hate wine in general, like you like drinking sweet shit.
You think about honey and you think about fruit. They're both sweet.
Yep.
Fruit's a little tart. How do you showcase both? You make a mead that's a little sweet and a little tart, and it showcases both.
Right.
That's not to say you can't have it dry, but you lose a lot of. I mean, Jason is the best fruit beer maker that I know. I'm the worst because I've got a 14. But I mean, so Jason, what do you think? And I hope you come up with the same failure of fruit beers that don't live up to what you think
not
they
enough
should
fruit.
be. Yes, 100%. Right? Yeah. And it's because if you add fruit to something, it should not just look like the fruit. Like you throw raspberries into a beer, it should probably look a little red, right? But it should taste like it too. And throwing a pound of raspberries into a beer is going to make it look a little pink, maybe. But like if you want a raspberry beer to taste like a raspberry beer, you add like 10 pounds,
I got to
seriously that like that's
I would. So this was something I've always been confused with because I recently started doing this with ciders that I've tested with fruit. You should probably sorbate that shit so it doesn't.
Thanks, Shayna.
Yes, Jordan, you should
Yep.
stabilize. Or either
Absolutely.
you stabilize or you ferment with the fruit.
Well, you ferment with the fruit, you're going to lose a lot of that flavor because fermented fruit doesn't taste quite like the fruit itself.
Not necessarily. It really depends on
or both.
Or both. Yeah, I mean that way you're going to get a more complex gambit of flavors.
right.
3-4 in primary, maybe like 6.
It really depends on the fruit and what you do. But I got to judge at State Fair. I got to judge the fruit beer category, and that was the comment on almost every score sheet that didn't taste like shit.
Bryan
Was where's the and if you go out to, and I'm not trying to pick on Abita, because I think the program that Abita Brewing does is amazing. Being a co-op brewery and owned by the town, and what they do is awesome. But Abita had the lowest scoring beer on Rate Beer for years. I think it still might be one of the lowest scoring beers. Was their raspberry beer Purple Haze, and it's because there's no fucking raspberries in it. Like, I mean. You're making a raspberry beer. I want to taste raspberries. You're making a cherry beer. I want to taste cherries. It's just what it is. Like people, there's a book, Radical Brewing by Randy Moschner.
Great book.
Mosher, yeah.
Right there. And I think that's where I got this the kind of the inspiration from it was go big or go home. Like when it comes to fruit beers, like, and it's the same thing. Like if you gave me some crazy pastry stout and you said it was, a Snicker stout, and if I could taste the peanuts and the caramel and the nougat and the chocolate, that would be one thing. But I think these people put out these pastry stouts that just taste like fucking sugar because there's just so much sugar. There's so much lactose or agave or whatever.
There's got to be a bit about like those beers. I mean, even at a homebrew scale, are not cheap to make. So
no,
and it's super difficult to get all those flavors to work together and be well represented. So, like, yeah. I mean, I'll speak entirely on speculation. Like, I feel like there's a little bit of just like cost recovery that goes into some of that.
But I agree. And I think the breweries in Michigan and all over the country, I shouldn't say Michigan, but I think the breweries that are putting out these pastry stouts and the beer snobs that are buying the pastry stouts, they are falsely creating rarity. And
agreed.
And the people that are buying it and thinking that it's special and important are because they think it's rare, not because they think it's good. If people really thought that was good, they would be pouring themselves a tall glass of maple syrup with some Hershey's and all that shit. Like,
it's the Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah,
it's the Emperor's New Clothes syndrome is what
Oh, exactly. That's a great, it's a great one.
Everybody says it's great, so it has to be great. So I need to have it because it's great, and everybody says it's great, so I need to go get it right now.
Yeah.
And then when I try it, well, everybody says it's great. And if I think it's not great, well, then there must be something wrong with me because this is great because everybody told me it is.
The last party I was at where they brought these special limited release things out, and I said I was the only guy out of 8 or 9 people, and I was like, this is shit. They looked at me like I was fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, tell me what's good about this beer. Well, I stood in line for that. That
doesn't make it a good beer.
Right?
Nope. That just makes you a dummy.
There's 400 people that didn't get this beer. I don't care about those 400 people.
Those 400 lucky people are doing well today.
Yeah. I will say there are people that are like doing like the limited releases and the small stuff that are doing it like good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a who makes a Beer Barrel Time. I should know this because it's like one of the most expensive beers like on the market right now. It's a side project.
Yeah, side project.
So their beers aren't necessarily, they're not adjuncted or anything like that, but they're still like sweet, right? But they like a beer like that. So it's $50 a bottle, right? But their head brewer and blender, they have all of these beers that they make over the course of the year, and they sample and blend and sample and blend a different barrel aged beer every year, to make something like exquisite. And like there's art in that. I think there's art in blending. I think the people that can do things like that for like by balance and taste and stuff like that, they deserve to be paid for their beer, and those beers do deserve the hype. But throwing like pumpkin pie and like strawberries, like fermented, like
side project does that. That's amazing. That is art. You're right. There is balance. There's depth. There's character there. Hill Farmstead does some of those. Those are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Does some. Those are amazing. But no, I'm just talking about, and we all know who they are. We all know multiple breweries that do it in Michigan. That just, I'll pick on one. Like, I'm just going to take Sanderson's Bumpy Cake or Sanders Bumpy Cake and fucking throw 100 of them in the fermenter and then charge $90 a bottle, and it's special. And no, it's not.
And none of that flavor carries through anyway. Like,
so
I will say, like, I mean, I'd try it, but I don't think I'd ever spend $50 for a bottle of beer. I'm not going to spend, most of the bottles of bourbon that I buy are probably between 30 and 50. I'm not, spending that much for one bottle of beer. I mean,
but now that we've made enemies and pissed off a bunch of beer snobs because I've had one too many Guinness.
Time to wrap up.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm sorry we took over the conversation.
No, it's quite all right.
I don't even know. Things, as you have obviously noticed, flow from one topic to the other without.
And that's exactly the course of this. Yeah. But to the point that
on judging.
Yeah. And to kind of tie that back in with the last, bit of ranting that we all did, I think that's
you can call it bitching. That's fine.
It's one of the things that I've really found as I've gotten more into judging, and is the word that everybody has said at least once in the past 10 minutes: balance. Yep. And it doesn't matter if it's an American light lager or an imperial sweet stout with lactose and pumpkin pie and whatever, guava melon and pineapple. It's the balance. I think that's what I like about the Belgian beers so much. Is every time, I mean, with any sample of a Belgian, every sip is almost a completely different flavor profile.
Yeah.
But everything all works together. It's so well balanced. It's like the old like Ed Sullivan show where they had the guy with the sticks with the plates on them, and he'd spin the plates on there. You have to keep all those plates spinning at the so nothing falls off, nothing's out of whack. And when you can take a pastry stout and actually not give me diabetes and make me taste the flavors that you want to taste, and still say, oh yeah, there's still a stout in there too, that's pretty damn good brewing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like and follow and subscribe. Thanks very much for watching.
There you go.
Absolutely. Look,
he's got that down.
We talked a lot about BJCP and judging. I'm excited to see the next episodes that you put out. I think you've got a great topic that's going to run you through a bunch of content. So I really, we'll share this around. We'll try to get you some more views, some more subscribers. You're doing the good work. So thank you for that.
No, I really appreciate it. And kind of, to wrap the whole thing up, I started by saying, my story is wrapped up with your story. I am very happy that I found that video and that I am now a part of Keepers of Craft. I have actually found my tribe, and it's really great, and I'm really happy to be a part of the group.
Yeah,
I'm super happy to have you.
Brian and I were just talking, like, I don't know, last night, the night before. It feels like recently, like. And we were trying to say, like, did you find Keepers through Michigan Brews, or did you find Michigan Brews through Keepers? And so it was nice that Michigan Brews brought you to your club.
Yep.
And we love having you. And it's been amazing. And I think your channel and your topics are going to be awesome. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for very, very much for having me on.
You bet, man.
Hell yeah.
Hang out after the after we end.
Well, we got some housekeeping to do now that I wanted to do earlier. So our next episode's episode 100. We are working on trying to come up with a way to commemorate that in a different manner, because it's just ridiculous that we have stuck this out and lasted 100 episodes.
Just started as a board, COVID project, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So right now we're talking about actually getting together in person. Jordan, if you can, we'll work with you on scheduling to brew a beer at a brewery, and then that beer will actually go on tap to represent Michigan's Michigan Brews 100 episode. I'm hoping that we can do that sooner than later, but we got to figure that out.
Pastry stout.
How'd you know?
Yeah.
With every possible sugar you can.
Yeah.
But that could be in the next few weeks. It may be a pre-recorded episode that we just post, but we are hoping to be able to work with one of the amazing local breweries, and we bought some new equipment. We've got lapel mics now, so that we can hear each other when we're together in person, and so we're trying to come up with something like that. And then as far as like episode 101, 102, 103 through the end of the year, I think now that we have Michigan Beer Cup put to bed for the year, I am more inclined to dive back into Michigan Brews and try to put some more time and effort in this. And so hopefully we can come up with some really cool episodes. Of course, it sounds like we're going to have a What Is Mini Best of Show episode coming up soon. We need to circle back with KVCC, and now that they're back, Taps for Tuesday starts next week.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're in Kalamazoo or the Kalamazoo area, Tuesday evening at the downtown Kalamazoo Valley campus, they put the beer that they make in the homebrewer program, or not homebrewer, in their brewing program on tap. It's amazing. Then you should come check it out. And then, yeah, maybe we get the Beer City BJCP guys down. We've still got a list of shows that we got to pull from, but we're going to try to get pump some content out between episode 100 and the end of the year. So, did I miss anything?
I think that's it.
Jordan, the V is deep enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Got to show off that man pelt.
Yeah.
I love you, brother.
Well, thanks for sticking around for
Almost
double
2
the length
hours.
of a normal episode. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed you guys.
Happy birthday again.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're
happy
looking
birthday.
good for 29, man.
Yeah. Thank you. It'll be 76 next year.
Yeah.
I ran out, and we got to say goodbye, so I got to pour one
There's-
more.
All right.
If you want more beer opening ASMR content, you can find it on our Only Foam page.
Only phone.
There you go.
It's a great pour, Jason. Just what I
That was well played.
Yeah.
All right.
I've
Any
had
other
enough.
news or no? All right.
We'll catch you guys on episode 100. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Bryan, for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
See ya.